Okay, so basically I put this indoors because it was a lot easier and to work on it. So I ended up having to do some rework to the board. Also because I had these caps were getting too hot. Because I think where I had them hooked up, they were getting too big of a voltage spikes as well as gyrating up and down, and I think it was just making them really hot. So I ended up reworking it to where these are just tied onto the 12 volts over here, through this secondary cable, which is this one right here. So I just had a couple wires going over these caps, and then I found out that there was a trace that I had for this ground over here that wasn't handling the current very well. So I ended up having to put a wire in there. So anyway, it seems to be working a little bit better. I had a loose wire on my switch here, and that's because I was playing around with it, and I tried to run it again, and I couldn't get it to go in both directions. And then I figured out that the enable switch on this thing was loose. So anyway, let's just try this again here really quick. And you can see that. But anyway, the other thing I found out is that what was happening is that when I'm running it like that, these two FETs were actually fairly cool, but when these are the two that should be being run when I'm going in the direction I just showed you, but what happened was that these guys over here were getting really hot, and what I figured out was when what I'm doing is I'm switching on and off the ground really fast, and that's what's basically controlling the speed. And these are the ground side FETs. I think what was happening is when I turned these off, basically the current, the current was going through here to this node, and then through the coil, and then here. But since you turn this off, it's kind of like there's still current there. Essentially, and it needs to go somewhere, so it wants to go back here. And I think what was happening is that the current was just going through the body diodes that were on this FETs, which there's a reverse diode on here that allows, if there's a higher voltage over here, it allows it to dump over back, so that it protects the FET, and because FETs don't really work well if they have a reverse voltage on them. And I think it's just to protect any circuits that they happen to be on. But the trouble is that was drawing a lot of basically current or power dissipation through these things. And what I ended up doing is basically I changed my little microcontroller, which is this guy. I changed the code that was in this, and I made it to where when I turn this off, I turn these on, and that seems to help now. The only thing is that I noticed these guys get warm now, which didn't seem like they were before, but maybe it's just that I wasn't really running it for very long. The other thing I noticed though is if I'm just barely turning this thing on like this, you can hear that little noise. That causes a pretty big voltage spike on the system. I don't know if you can see it here, but it's probably not very well on this, but basically you turn it on here, and then as soon as you shift it, turn it off, it jumps up to like 50 volts. You can't see it on this completely. And these little protection diodes here start clamping out about around close to maybe about 54 volts that they start clamping. And if you're running it for a long time on that short, a really short duty cycle where it's just barely running, these guys get really hot. So I may have to do some adjustment there to make sure that we kind of have a minimum duty cycle, so that basically it's when you first start it on, it's enough to get it to go. It's enough to get it to go, and then not just be sitting there going. Because see, these things are somewhat warm even just doing that. So I'm a little bit concerned about that. Basically, I'm just concerned about these FETs here. I would have hoped that just with barely running it at 50 amps, that they would be running pretty cool, but That didn't seem to be completely the case, so not sure what the deal was there, but anyway. Oh, uh-oh. If I didn't do anything bad there. But anyway, I have a little bit of a problem with running the other side, and that may have been what blew on this one FET, as maybe the reverse diode went. But I'm almost wondering if the flash that I saw coming from this thing was that trace that blew out, which I don't know if you can really see it, but this trace right here on the other side blew out, and that may have been what I thought I saw, because I mean all these FETs seem to be, you know, getting warm like they're working. So but anyway, this is going the other way, and that I didn't quite have it right or something, so these FETs still are getting warm, even though when I'm doing it the other way it should be this FET and this FET that are getting turned on. This one's getting turned on off, this one is just on all the time. And I thought I did the same thing where when I turn this off, I turn this on, but it doesn't seem to be working, so I'll have to figure out what's wrong with that. But anyway, oops. See, and sometimes I don't know if it's like it gets so hot that it doesn't want to work. You know, it just doesn't seem like it wants to get going. So it's kind of interesting, but see, there it did. I don't know, maybe I just don't quite get it up and fast enough, and then it doesn't want to quite go good enough. But anyway, let's see, so that's going the other way. And that's when these guys get really hot, because I don't think I'm turning them on. So that's kind of some more of this. I'm going to disconnect the battery here and just show you really quick here what I did to this. And I'm going to close this out here. Kind of get some of this stuff out of the way here. Okay. Just a second. I just want to try to turn this over just for a second here, just so you can kind of see what I did to it. So, like, I added the wire across the center there, and then I cut the traces from the caps and just ran them by themselves. So anyway, but that's how it's going. I was kind of hoping it wouldn't be quite getting so hot. You know, just compared to just a slow speed, you know, for the slow speeds that I'm doing. But one of the things is that, you know, I could change the on-off frequency of this so that you know, it's not switching quite so much, which would you know, basically hopefully kind of reduce the duty cycle or in the amount of you know, switching that's going on, and that might kind of reduce some of the power dissipation. So I can't think of much else at this point. I think I'll let this one go. Thanks.